Welcome, everybody, to the next edition of Midnight Masterminds. It is midnight. I'm not lying. I cannot hold up the shtick any longer. I live in a big old bundle of lies. It's not midnight. It is exactly 5:04 p.m., but we are still here to bring you everything you need to know. My name is Wyatt. I'm here with Katimae. Hello. And Aaron. Hello. And
Tyler.
The only other non-fake voice in the room. AKA, Katimae and Aaron are not joining us today. They died in a horrible car accident. Just kidding. That's what I'm telling all my friends, though. What really happened is they're both busy. So there you go. That's all you need to know about that.
Yeah, just a Taiwai episode of Midnight Storage Cast today.
How dare you, sir, put your two letters in front of my two letters?
Why tie?
That's right. You get it. You get the order correct, or you get the hell out of here, my house.
This is my apartment.
I know we're not even where we normally do this podcast. What a treat for you! I know. So we're gonna keep our intros and our little bits a little lean and mean because we got a lot of stuff to cover today. Isn't that right, Byler?
That we feckin' do.
Whoa! If you don't pump the language, I'll kick you out of your house. Don't cough.
I'm sorry.
Don't do that.
We were at a concert last night, and that's why my voice sounds like this, because I was yelling.
Hey, man, everybody's got excuses. So the first thing that we're going to talk about is we're going to do another one of our throwback movie reviews. There's only one, and I cannot wait to bring it to your life. It was brought into my life somewhat suddenly, so it's going to be fun.
Somewhat suddenly.
Somewhat suddenly. We have a trailer roundup for you because, as everybody in the whole world knows, it is Comic-Con week. And it is rife with news.
Yeah, lots of stuff.
Lots of stuff to cover.
Some good, some rubbery fake CGI sharks.
I wouldn't even call them rubbery. I would just call it like CGI soup.
Yeah.
Because it's in water. Get it?
Yep.
Anyway, after we do our trailer roundup and we talk a little bit about Comic-Con news, just straight up comic book. We're just shifting gears completely. No. Comic-Con news, we're going to move into the reviews for this week, of which there were at least 3, which is pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So, right at the top, we are covering, for our classic movie review, can I get a drum roll, Byler? Thank you, person outside the door. That would be, I think Freddie heard me. I started doing drumming. That was good. I watched the first Mamma Mia to prep for Mamma Mia 2. And exactly how this awkward silence is affecting you is how I was affected. So I want to start off by saying I think that this movie, I could see easily how this movie influenced a lot of people's lives and how it can just make you happy to watch it. I can also say that for someone like me, no thanks. So look, here's the best thing I can say about this movie. Not the best thing I can say about it. Here's the best way that I can summarize it for people who are like you and I, Tyler, who aren't into musicals.
Well, I love musicals.
Okay, hi, I'm Tyler. You know, I'm not into musicals, even though you are. Is that if you were to take all the songs out of this movie, I think it would be about 15 minutes. Because the plot is this. Amanda Seyfried plays the daughter of Meryl Streep's character, and I have all that pulled up here, but this is just what I remember. And she's getting married to Dominic Cooper, a.k.a. Iron Man's dad. A little bit of an age gap there.
A.k.a. Iron Man's dad.
The younger version of Iron Man's dad from Captain America. All right? So,
and Agents of Peggy Carter.
Agents of Peggy Carter.
Wasn't she? Wasn't he?
Yeah, it's just called Agent Carter.
I know.
Just get your shows right, all right? So, anyway, they're getting married, and Meryl Streep is, let's just say she had an adventurous youth as a 20-year-old. I think that's how old she was. And there are 3 potential men that could be Amanda Seyfried's dad. And she wants her dad, her real dad, to give her away at the ceremony. So she invites all 3 of them and doesn't tell her mom.
That's a weird turn of phrase.
Yeah.
That's a really weird. I know it's like the proper way to refer to what happens, I guess.
Give away.
But it's really weird.
Is that what you were talking about?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a really weird turn of phrase.
Well,
it's like, Dad, give me away.
I think it's more
for $10 and a vodka cranberry.
I think it's more about, and this is a really, really old medieval way of thinking about it. I think it's more, I'm no longer the primary caregiver to this young lady. You are now, so I'm giving you that responsibility.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I don't think the world doesn't work like that anymore. Not even I don't think, it just doesn't, but we still use that phrase because, hey,
why not?
Tradition, I guess, right?
Yep.
So, in lieu of Katimae taking notes, I took some notes on Mamma Mia, and I'd like to share them with everybody. And again, if you don't know anything about it, it's kind of weird because it really is a classic movie. People like it. At this point, it's 10 years old.
Yep.
It's
10 years old. Holy crap.
Yeah. The songs and everything are really well performed. I mean, I can again see why everybody really, really likes this movie. And all the characters, the three dads, played by Colin Firth, Stellan Skarsgård, and Pierce Brosnan, they're great. They're hilarious together. They're really fun. And the stuff with them is good, and they're all really good singers except for one, who I'll point out later on. And it's sad because he's like one of the only ones who got like a solo number in the sequel, and I was a little sad about that.
Oof.
but again, it is just a lot of fun. It's there's not really any stakes to anything. In fact, the first movie has a lot more emotional stakes than the second movie, because the second movie, when I get into the review of it, you'll see that like there's a lot less kind of going on.
Spoiler alert, that's coming later.
The whole reason I watched this one was to prep for this one. So, but anyway, the stakes are quite low, because the only thing that's really at stake is if my mom finds out, she might get mad at me. But of course, you've put everybody in a situation where everyone has to find out, at least at the ceremony, right? But all the emotional part comes in when all three of them are very convinced that they're the father, and they really badly want to be the father. So they all say, "Well, I'll give you away, and I'll give you away, and I'll give you away." And then she's like, "Oh no, I made a big old mistake." Yeah, you dummy. But whatever.
Who is the dad in the end?
Who is the dad in the end? That's the trick. Can't tell you till the end of the notes. Are you ready for Mamma Mia notes? Okay. I would prefer that the movie kind of lube me up before we start singing bits, a.k.a. it starts immediately with singing. It was not lubed up. They went in dry, and I did not bite a stick. So I bit a chunk of my tongue off. I was just sitting there waiting for, like, story, and it just started with, la, 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 la. I was like, okay.
We'll say. Most musicals start that way.
I think at least most that I have seen. Again, I'm not an avid musical fan, so maybe I don't know better. But usually they start off with a little bit of, like, context. And the opening of the movie was very random. Like, if there was no musical, like, aspect to it, and you didn't know who the actors were, you would have just seen a lot of really random snippets of, like, nothing. You would see Amanda Seyfried getting ready for a wedding with her friends, kind of dancing around, and then you would just see really intense, like, zoom shots of Pierce Brosnan, like, doing work as an architect. And you'd go, how do these images come together? I don't get it. And I didn't get it, because I didn't know the story. Okay. Actually, that's my next note. This opening told me nothing, a lot of random clips of bullshit, and then a sparkly title card. And then I put a little asterisk, I think I'm fucked. So
oh, no.
Okay. So, let's see. The whole first song was just them singing about how they're best friends. And the note that I put was, I also sing with my friends about how we're best friends. Every time I come to Tyler's house, we do about a 5-minute musical number about our best friendedness. So that made me feel at home. So there was a little line where one of the characters was referring to a note written in Meryl Streep's diary. Like, her character has a little diary she kept when she was like 20. And in there she put ... at the end, right? One of the characters was like, "What is this ... What does that mean?" And Amanda Seyfried says, ... that's what they did in the olden days. And I stopped and I said, but people, they still do that now. In fact, probably more so now than ever before. Should you know what the fuck ... means? But whatever. So already, this is like 10 minutes in. So you imagine me sitting on my like little bed couch that we have going like, oh no. Let's see. My next note, and I don't know at what point in the movie I thought this, but I thought, as far as this kind of shit goes, it's well directed and well shot, but this shit ain't for me. So there you go. So, and then Dominic Cooper showed up, and I wrote, holy shit, is that Dominic Cooper? He is probably way older than the girl in this movie. Even when it was made. Like 10 years ago, he was probably way older than Amanda Seyfried.
Let's find out.
I want to find out because he's, no offense, he's a really great actor and he does a good job, but like, he's an older dude. If I'm thinking correctly, but you know, whatever. I think age gaps between actors and actresses is always like ridiculous.
He's 40. I think he was actually real life dating Amanda Seyfried.
Really?
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Yeah, he was.
That might make it weirder.
And she is 32.
How old is he again?
40.
So 8-year gaps. Well, I was kind of right.
A little bit.
mean, when this
10
movie...
years ago, she would have been 22. And he would have been 30. That's
Dang.
not terrible.
It's not terrible. No, that's not terrible. So 20 minutes in, they've still only sung about, pretty much exclusively, I Want to Meet My Dad. I checked the timestamp. 20 minutes in, it's just, I want to meet my dad, I want to meet my dad. And the note that I put was, can we get this story the fuck along, please? Thank you. Okay. There's this little scene when Meryl Streep's old friends show up to meet up with her at this hotel that she runs for the wedding. Mm-hmm. And they got multiple angles and multiple shots of them running down the pier to meet up with each other. And they must have rolled every single shot that they took because I felt like I watched them run down this goddamn pier towards each other for 5 minutes. It was ridiculous. They did a really good little bit where Meryl Streep is driving her friends home to the hotel and telling them about the wedding and how everybody's feeling about it. And then, out of nowhere, Meryl Streep starts turning the wheel, but the car doesn't fucking turn. And then I thought, oh, there's a green screen, so that took me out of it. The highlight note that I put in here was, I would definitely watch Pierce Brosnan, Stellan Skarsgård, and Colin Firth chill on a boat for an entire movie. That would be a good fucking movie. Because they take a boat. Stellan Skarsgård, his whole thing is he's a... He has a boat and he's a sailor. That's his whole bit, right? Mm-hmm. His character bit. And he's supposed to be going to... The only way you can get to this hotel is by boat or by ferry. So he has a boat and he's getting ready to take off on his own. Colin Firth and Pierce Brosnan show up and none of them actually know each other. They don't all know that they're the potential dad, right? So they ask him, hey, are you heading to this thing? Can we go with you? So they're all three of them are on this boat, not knowing that they're about to necessarily be quote-unquote competitors. And they're having a good time just being buddies. And that was really fun. Mm-hmm. So they did a musical dance number. And I believe they were singing, in the song at least, there's bits about Aphrodite. And then at the end of it, the ground just cracked open.
What? Back up.
And then, I swear to God...
Lol, what?
Meryl Streep looks down at the crack, and one girl was like, what is that? She was like, it's best not to talk about it. And then they went on with the movie.
What?
So I was sitting there going, hold on, is that some kind of inside joke that I don't know about, and I just don't know enough about, like, ABBA to understand it?
Huh?
Or is it a Meryl Streep reference? Or was that just... Okay. I'm going to take the Meryl Streep approach and just go, it's best not to think about it. So when they reveal the three dads and Amanda Seyfried sees them, they're all together, and they all turn around and they introduce themselves. She is the one who invited all of them, posing as her mom, mind you. So
Good.
She knows who they're supposed to be, but they don't know that she's supposed to be her, Meryl Streep's daughter. In fact, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, none of them even know that she has a daughter until they got the wedding invitation. So when they turn around, they do this insanely dramatic zoom in on Stellan Skarsgård as he does this very, just really good, like, modeling pose towards the camera like this. Are you ready? And then a zoom in. It was really intense. They even put a little whoosh sound, I think. But then Pierce Brosnan and Colin Firth just got a static shot. I'm like, what? Why does he get this insanely dramatic zoom in, but the other two don't? It was really weird. So they're doing some sort of like makeup scene, and it's in the middle of like a dance number, and they're spraying this stuff on Meryl Streep's face, and then her friend just takes it and puts it in her armpits. So either it was deodorant, and you shouldn't be spraying that on people's faces because that'll burn your face up, or it's like face setting spray, in which case it's not going to do anything for your armpit. Just didn't get that bit. Didn't land for me. Try again.
Try again?
This is the part. This is the part of the notes where I put the little asterisk where I said, I seriously think this movie would be 15 minutes without all the singing, because it would be. Because what I told you is pretty much the whole plot. Amanda Seyfried gets really mad at one point when she goes to confide in her mom about, I told them all that they're giving me away and they don't know it, and I made a big old boo-boo. And her mom was like, it's okay, we'll figure it out. She was like, no, I won't figure it out. No, I'm mad. And she left. And I'm like, why the fuck is she mad? Everyone's being super nice to her. I feel like in watching this movie and watching the second movie, I'm pretty sure the whole, in this universe, and I'm not kidding, the whole universe revolves around the Amanda Seyfried character. Mm-hmm. Everything. The whole universe.
That's frustrating.
Everybody in this universe has to just find a way to make her as happy as possible. That's the movie. That's the movie. Because this is how the movie ends. I'm going to skip a lot of the movie to get to the end because the rest of it is kind of repetitive notes, right? Mm-hmm. They all decide that it doesn't matter who the dad is. We'll all three be your dad. So she has 3 dads for the rest of her life. End of movie.
My ears are ringing.
Okay, here's the last note that I will give you, though. This movie introduced me to the only thing that can dampen Pierce Brosnan's charm. Singing. Because when he sings, I'm sorry, it's flat. And it's really distracting. And I was watching it, I'm going, man, Colin Firth and Stellan Skarsgård, they're really good at singing and dancing. And then Pierce Brosnan is just awkward. And then in the second movie, they give him a solo number with no musical instruments. It's just him by himself. The only person that has to carry the whole song, not only himself, without any musical assist. And I'm sitting there going, who made this choice? Who looked at the roster and was like, these are all the people in the movie who sing and dance. Who are we going to give to? And then the director said, which one is the most just awkward? Pick that guy. Why are we going to pick on Pierce Brosnan? Because I want to. Because I'm fucking evil. And that's what happened. That's a true story. But anyway, that's my review of Mamma Mia. There you go. I will say, I'm turning off the joke mode now and speaking directly as a reviewer. It's a fun movie. The story makes sense. It has a somewhat satisfying ending and whatnot. It's really not bad at all. I get why it's a classic, and for the audience that this movie's made for, it's probably the best that exists. If you ask me.
There you go.
I still don't like it, and I'll never watch it again. But that's just me. Moving on to the trailer roundup. Take it away, Byler.
All right.
I talked for too much, and I have foam in my mouth.
All right. So, as Wyatt said...
Be happier.
At the beginning of the episode, SDCC is going on right now.
SDCC!
Yep. And that means that nerds are having woogasms all over a bunch of different trailers, some of which are good, some of which are okay, and some of which are butthole.
That's what a butthole sounds like.
I'm not gonna say what I think until the end.
What?
Anyway.
So I just
more so I meant that I'm not gonna say which ones I liked more than others. I'll say what I thought. I'm not gonna say which ones I like more than others.
We're gonna do a ranking afterwards.
Yes, we are.
What?
All right. So first up, just because alphabetically, it's the first one I have.
Oh, we're going alphabetical on you, motherfucker.
No, we're not.
No, we're not. We are not going alphabetical.
The first one I have, for whatever reason, is Aquaman.
Whoa. Alphabetical on you, motherfucker.
So my favorite thing is how everyone for the past 3 years since Aquaman got announced has been talking about how, don't worry, Aquaman's going to save the day. I'm holding out for Aquaman. James Wan's a good director. Oh, wait. Yeah, Batman v Superman was a bit of a misstep, but Aquaman will probably get it back on track. And I'm like, no.
You want to take the most ridiculous concept out of all comic books, if you ask me. The only thing a little slightly more ridiculous would probably be Shazam. More on that later. And you're going to tell me that's the thing that's going to save your company? Get the hell out of here. I smelled shit a mile away on this one, but that's just me.
Aquaman as a character...
He is. Nice work.
Is not... No, as. I said Aquaman
I thought
as.
You said Aquaman is a character.
Nope. I said Aquaman. Aquaman as a character has always been ridiculed.
Yes. Because he's ridiculous.
Well, justifiably so for... some iterations, but a lot of the time he's really cool and he's really powerful, and I really like the way that the character itself, so far at least, has been realized in the DC universe. That being said, as Wyatt said at the beginning of this episode, CGI soup. It's just because it's all underwater, it's Atlantis, they didn't. It's really hard for them, I guess, to do practical effects in any way. I mean, even though there are space movies that do practical effects.
I can see how doing it underwater would be a lot harder.
Sure.
Because to create that sort of we're underwater look
Yeah.
is really hard to do unless you're just straight up filming underwater like they did in Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire.
Yep.
And that, I think they were underwater for something like 20 some odd hours for like 8 minutes of film.
Yeah.
Like, that's outrageous.
Yeah,
you can't do that.
That's a nightmare. But, and I get it, but like, there's a way to make it so the CGI doesn't look as terrible. DC needs to really rethink, or I don't know.
Need to rethink,
Their
or I don't know.
CGI department is bad. Whoever does their visual effects, they need to do a major rethink because
it just looks kind of, maybe they haven't finalized it yet, but to me, the minute I saw that CGI shark at the aquarium in the very first shot of the trailer, I just thought, that's that. It was a really good foreshadowing for what to expect for the rest of it. It's just, for me, when I see that much CGI, it takes almost all the stakes out of it. I don't know. I thought we were learning as a cinematic society that movies are better with practical effects but enhanced by CGI.
We're learning that. But if we learned anything else, it's that the people, Warner Brothers, when they make DC movies, don't learn right.
Forget that.
They don't learn right.
Yeah.
They learn things, and then they forget those things for the wrong things.
I mean, just if you look at what's funny is I think the film franchise that pioneered this idea, other than Jurassic Park, being that they were one of the first ones to even use CGI, is the Dark Knight trilogy.
For superhero.
Made at Warner Brothers.
Yep.
I don't understand
That's the
how
thing,
you
it's
can
like,
pioneer a thought and then just not use it when it catches on. It makes no sense to me. I don't get it.
It's the mind blowing because remains the best trilogy of superhero movies.
Still,
period, is the Dark Knight trilogy.
Correct.
For good and bad, as movies, those are the best.
Before you go on any further, a public service announcement for everybody. There are 3 or 4 cities that they are doing a 70mm screening, and only in these 3 cities. One of them is in Los Angeles at the Universal City Walk. The reason I'm bringing it up is because I was going to tell you about it, and that we have to get tickets. Sometime in August, they're going to do one screening. 70mm The Dark Knight.
Oh.
Yeah, so if tickets are on sale right now, so just get them. Don't be dumb.
What are the other 2 cities?
Probably New York City and Ontario.
Okay.
That's it, though. The only places you can go. Tyler's like, stop the podcast.
All right.
Pull up Fandango. Anyway, not to interrupt your thought, but I really didn't want to lose that. I wanted to get that out there.
No, yeah, and
I think that's so cool because they shot a lot of that movie in IMAX, so
Yep.
you can watch it in 70mm and get that experience.
Yep. That's how I experienced Interstellar for the first time.
2 movies I've seen in 70mm were movies that were shot for 70mm, and that was The Hateful Eight, which was great to see it, but didn't make as much good use of it as it could have because I saw Dunkirk in 70mm.
Oof.
That was an experience I have never, like, seeing the horizons in 70mm. They're really, it's like, I wouldn't even call it lifelike. It's a whole other experience outside of what you would consider to be lifelike, because people consider photos and cinematography and that one imagery to be good based on how photorealistic it is. I wouldn't even say watching 70mm makes you feel like you're seeing something realistic. It makes you think you're just seeing something impressive, and that's enough, you know. But, enough on that. Sorry.
No. The end of that thought was that DC needs, like, it's getting tired.
Yeah.
Talking about how they really need to rethink this shit, and I mean it's admirable in a way that they're sticking with everything.
I mean, they're still making money, so they don't. I mean, if you're a Warner Brother executive and you hear people are saying you should stop doing this, we're going to stop giving you money, yet they still give you money. At that point, you go, I can restructure my company, but why? So there's no financial gain for me. What's the point? So I get it. I get it's just disappointing. It makes me happy that I've been a Marvel fan since the beginning, and by default I'm winning. Sorry,
but. Funny, we should be talking about DC and it not being that great and hopeful.
Because I'm about to talk about one that's actually really great.
There's the Shazam trailer dropped, and the first time I watched the trailer, I was really upset. Well, not really upset, but put off. But then I watched it again, and now I'm pretty low-key excited.
Well, when I saw it, my first thought was, is Warner Brothers making this movie?
Yeah. Yeah.
And here's the thing: when you look at like the stills from it, or you look at the on-set photos and whatnot, you look at it and you go, "Wow, that movie looks horrible," because the suit is really bad. His hair is super fake. He's like a fake tan. Unless he really is tanning like that, then dude, stop. You're gonna get melanoma. But anyway, it's all really confusing. Looking at the material, going, how could this possibly turn out okay?
Yeah.
Because he's obviously wearing like a muscle suit. Mm-hmm. But then you see the trailer, and it all makes sense. Mm-hmm. They're essentially making fun at the fact that the concept of being a superhero is quite ridiculous. Mm-hmm. That once the person would have those abilities, two, would dress the way that they dress and have the hair the way that they do, and just be basically it's a ribbing on Superman.
Yep.
And what's great is that Superman exists in that universe, so they have someone to specifically rib on, and they even show clips of like Superman headlines. And one of the kids has a Batarang in his bedroom. Either it's a fake one or one that he bought on eBay from the real Batman. Clearly, they have an affinity for superheroes. Him being the kid who turns into Shazam and his adopted brother. Mm-hmm. So. Basically, it's the story about this kid who is given the powers of Shazam and can only summon upon those powers when he says the word Shazam. And they materialize and make him whatever the best version of those powers would be. To him is a Superman-esque character, which is why he looks so ridiculous. Yep. And it's kind of genius.
And that's how it is in the comics. Is Billy Batson emulates what he idealizes as the perfect superhero, which again is a Superman-esque character. That's why they look so similar. But I wasn't really thinking that when I was watching the trailer the first time. It was just kind of off-putting, but then I really thought about it a little more, and I watched it the second time, and I'm honest to God hopeful, actually.
Yeah.
I'm allowing myself to feel that way towards a DC movie. Because it looks like it's going to be well-contained.
It's having fun with it.
It looks like it's going to be modest. It's not selling that, oh my God, look at this gigantic CGI battle underwater. And
I don't think I saw any CGI in that other than the lightning.
Yep. Yeah. And I mean, him flying up in the air probably was a little CGI.
Maybe a little, but even that you can tell that they just dropped an actor with some wires. Because they do a little bit in the trailer where he jumps up, but he's not really good at flying yet, so maybe goes up like 20 feet and then falls to the ground. It's funny. It's really funny. I think casting Zachary Levi was absolutely a stroke of genius.
Yeah, I agree.
Because he is playing the part of a little kid super well. And if you've seen Chuck, and I used to be a huge Chuck fan, I think it fizzled out around like season 3 for me, but that's when I kind of tuned out after season 3. But anyway, he's still a hilariously good actor. Great at playing, and if you watch Chuck, he's just like a childish man boy. And the fact that you're going to hire somebody who's really good at playing a childish man boy to play your actual man boy, that's a stroke of genius.
Yeah.
So it couldn't have gone any better.
Yeah.
Could not have gone any better. I'm excited. I hope that they don't. I hope you don't Warner Brothers this one up.
Agree.
Because it looks really good.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be a good time, and I'm hopeful for it. Okay. Crimes of Grindelwald.
The Primes of Grindelwald?
Yeah.
Got it.
Harry Potter, not Harry Potter, the deathly, scary monsters, and where to find them.
I'm glad
Crimes of
you brought up
Grindy Pants.
I'm glad you brought up the Harry Potter word, because they use the Harry Potter music in these trailers.
It feels like a bastardization.
It feels like you're lying to me.
Yeah.
I thought that was Harry's theme, and now they're turning around and saying, well, it's the Wizarding World theme song. But is it?
Yeah, I don't like that.
I don't like that at all. Give it a new theme song.
It's
a very original.
It makes me think back to like Rogue One. Rogue One could have done the same thing. Star Wars. Rogue One could have done the same thing with the title and done the Star Wars theme, but they didn't. They did their own. That feels like an homage.
Could be,
because it's the same world and whatever, or the same universe.
Yeah.
But it's its own thing.
And they only use some of it, not the main theme, but some of it in the fighting, like the dogfight sequences up in space.
Yep.
That makes sense because you're not using the original.
You're using the dogfighting soundtrack, and then when Darth Vader pops up, you use the Imperial March.
Yeah, but with this, they're just straight up using the Harry Potter theme music. I don't want to harken on this too much. I don't want to harp on this too much because I actually really like the trailer, but it's just weird for me. It's annoying because there's plenty of other like sub themes in Harry Potter. John Williams is a genius. He's going to give you a lot to work with. So the fact that Like, there's a Hedwig theme that you could use.
Yep.
I mean, Hedwig's dead, whatever, but it doesn't, like, you could still... you could still...
I mean, Hedwig dead, but...
What I mean is there's a lot of other ones you can just steal from. I saw a meme today. You guys want to know. It was, somebody asked on Reddit, how long does an owl live? And they said 6.5 books. I was like, that's mean. That made me really sad. I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. That's probably my favorite fandom and my favorite... Just my favorite world, more so than like Star Wars. I love it.
I hate Star Wars fandom.
Star Wars fandom
as a member of some part of that,
they're awful people.
Not
all of you, okay? Because I'm one of you. I really am. But the reason I stay true to my Gryffindor Harry Potter roots and I'm not leaving because we're pretty goddamn respectful.
Yeah, and when was the last time Harry Potter fans chased innocent actors and actresses and filmmakers off of social media by being racist?
The whole point of Harry Potter is about... literally, the whole theme is just love.
Yeah.
And Star Wars is just be mean to Rian Johnson.
Be mean to Rian Johnson and Kelly Marie Tran because you didn't like the decisions they made in that one movie that one time.
Daisy Ridley was also harassed at first, and she ended up sticking it out.
Yep.
Not that Kelly Marie Tran should have.
Oh,
but
no, absolutely.
Daisy Ridley did.
Yeah.
And it just
anyway, we're not going to rant about
too much on that subject.
Yeah.
But anyway, Crimes of Grindelwald.
I will. So I liked the first Fantastic Monsters and Where the Beasts.
You got it wrong.
I know. I
know
it's
you
intentional.
I know.
I liked the first one enough, but having said that, I haven't seen it again since it came out.
I've seen it once or twice after I saw it in theaters.
Actually, yeah, I saw it twice while it was in theaters.
I owned the Steelbook.
I saw it twice while it was in theaters, and I had a good enough time. But I love the idea of exploring that universe. More absolutely.
Yeah.
The first one was a little boring.
So a
little drab.
I think these movies. Well, I don't want to say these movies because while two do exist, I've only seen one.
That's the end of that thought was that this one does the Crimes of Grindelwald looks at least more colorful and more fun.
Yeah, I think it suffers a little bit from. They're not pulling from source material; they're just whipping this shit up out of thin air. But also, it's being written by J.K. Rowling, so that's supposed to be solace for fans that the mythology is going to be respected. Yep. But to that token, a lot of people are really upset that the Ministry is able to operate within Hogwarts.
Yep.
People are like, so you're supposed to make us feel better that J.K. Rowling is writing these books, yet in the very first part of the very first trailer, you break one of the oldest rules in the books. What are you doing? Now, I think that there's probably a good reason for it.
Yeah,
they probably turned it off
Yep.
for a certain amount of time so the Ministry could use it, whatever. And at that time, there hadn't really been a big wizarding war or scandal, and there hadn't been that yet.
Yep. I'm sure they'll
Grindelwald
explain it.
shit was just about to go down.
Also, that's one thing I do like is the idea. It's one of the things I like about Lord of the Rings is if you just watch the movies, you think Sauron, biggest, baddest bad. Mm-hmm. But, no. In Lord of the Rings, there's a bigger bad. His name is Melkor.
Yeah.
Or Morgoth, depending on who you ask. And he's the end game. He's the end times. He's the Ragnarok.
Yeah.
And I like the idea that Voldemort and Grindelwald are equal parties. Awful.
They're equal, but it was mentioned by Dumbledore himself a couple times that Voldemort is more dangerous a person than Grindelwald.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the idea there is that Grindelwald is evil and incredibly powerful, but he has a clear motivation and is at least reasonable and doesn't want to kill wizards and kind of thing.
That's why Voldemort's more dangerous.
Because he's just he
just wants to
sociopath.
Yeah, he thinks Muggles are completely inferior, and he just wants to eradicate them.
Yep.
That's it. That's very very cut and dry.
Yep.
He'll kill anybody who gets in his way.
Grindelwald will settle for slavery.
Yeah, he shares a lot of the same sentiments, but at the same time, he had a very similar. Well, he lived in the same town growing up as Dumbledore, so they do share a lot of the same values, which is kind of scary when you think about, Grindelwald grew up to be what he grew up to be, and Dumbledore grew up to be, leading this group of influencing young people in one of the most influential institutions in the wizarding world.
Well, it's the idea there that context and where you grew up, and environment one little difference can make two people grow up completely different.
Yeah.
Because they might share some values, but Dumbledore ends up being one of the best weapons against that kind of hate.
And what's funny,
Grindelwald ends up becoming one of the strongest weapons for it.
Yeah. And what's funny about, in this is a good way for us to kind of dig into the trailer. I think the Fantastic Beast series is turning a little bit more into fan service, but being somebody who's a fan who likes to be serviced, not complaining at all. But it's we were told that we would be getting a series about Newt Scamander. It has instead become the prequel to the Harry Potter series, a.k.a. what happened with Dumbledore and Grindelwald.
Yep.
So you can look... It looks like this movie is going to almost be just like a bunch of setup pieces for some of the layers of the Deathly Hallows.
Yep.
Which, again, I'm not upset about at all.
Not at all.
It's a big departure from what I think they said they would come out to do. And this is supposed to be a 5-part series, part 2 of 5 parts. So... I really wonder what the next 3 movies are going to be about, because it looks like this is the start of a war, and if the 5th one is supposed to be, when Dumbledore finally bests Grindelwald, what are these other 2 movies going to fucking be about?
Oh, jeez.
That's what I mean.
It makes me wonder if, maybe one of them is more a side story than a continuation.
Maybe they start to focus on Newt Scamander.
Yeah, maybe
I love him as a character.
Yeah, because this one maybe introduced Dumbledore.
Yeah.
And focuses more on his story throughout this, with Newt there as well to kind of guide us through, but maybe the 3rd one is just a Newt story, and the 4th one is just the Dumbledores, and then the 5th one is another pairing.
Because look, we would all buckle up for a Dumbledore series. The reason I called it a little bit fan servicey is that you have Nicholas Flamel's in this. Yeah. So at the very end of and he's on the IMDb page. We all knew that he was going to be in it. I think it's interesting the way that they're playing him.
Yeah.
He's just like this. He's a super old guy still already.
Yeah.
And when they go to shake his hand, he just cracks. I think that's hilarious. So I'm glad they're playing that for laughs. I think if they had made this movie around the time when the other Harry Potter movies would have come out, they would have played as a very serious type of stoic character. So I appreciate that they're starting to have some fun with it. They also bring up the Mirror of Erised. That's a big thing from Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. And another big part of Dumbledore's mythology is people have always wondered, what does he see in the mirror? And for those people who don't know, or for some reason don't know, I guess the Sorcerer's Stone at this point is a pretty old movie, so maybe it's worth bringing back up. The Mirror of Erised is when you look into it, you see what you most desire. The absolute deepest desire that you have. You see it in the mirror. So Harry's looking in it, and he sees his deceased parents being with him and showing him affection, because that's all he's ever wanted.
Yep.
And when Dumbledore shows up, Harry asks him, what do you see? And he makes a joke. So everyone's
I don't remember
wondered
what the joke is.
He said something about him holding a pair of socks that he wished he had got on Christmas. Very good Dumbledore joke. So people have wondered, what does he actually see? And we see in the trailer, it's
Spoiler alert!
It's just in the trailer.
Yeah, but some people might be avoiding the trailer.
It's Grindelwald. He sees Grindelwald in the mirror. At least at that point in his life. Maybe when he was much older and a much wiser man, he does see himself holding a pair of socks that he did not get on Christmas that he wanted to get.
Maybe. Maybe he sees his sister.
But at that point, you have money. Just go buy some socks. But whatever.
we're digressing a little bit. All right.
Overall, though, I do think the movie looks like a lot of fun. I love Jacob Kowalski as a character. I love that we have a Muggle in these movies that is endearing and fun to follow.
Yep.
In the same way that Harry Potter was our into the Wizarding world and having things sort of expositioned into our mouths. That's what Jacob is, and I think he's a fun, good vessel to have.
Agree.
I do think that the movies. I think I've finally figured out what costs a little bit of the charm in these movies. Is that the first 8 movies for 7 books were about kids, and it's about a lot of pretty jaded adults. So this is very much a series for at least teenagers through young adults through adults who grew up with the Harry Potter series. I think someone like me who grew up with the Harry Potter series and loves it is the target audience for this movie, and I think some of the charm is lost in the fact that it's not about kids anymore. Not that I'm saying I wish it would be at all, but in the opening for this trailer, Dumbledore is teaching a new crop of kids how to handle a buggard. And again, a buggard is something that when you look at it, you see your worst fear, and it turns into your worst fear. And there's a spell that turns it into something ridiculous, so that you don't
What is that spell, Wyatt?
Ridiculous.
Got it.
Okay, there you go. So anyway, I know too much about this. They show that, and that to me is one of the more cheery, fun parts of the trailer. and really reminds me of what I like about Harry Potter, and then the rest of the trailer just feels like a different movie. It just does. So that's why I think seeing that made the distinction. I saw that and I went, oh man, we're back at Hogwarts. This is great. Delightful's going to be a fun, romp. And then it cuts to just a lot of sadness, and you're like, oh, that's right. It's the same universe, but there are no kids. And that I think that's when I drew the parallel of this will never feel like a Harry Potter movie in its entirety, because it's not about what the themes of the Harry Potter movie were, which is growing up in this imaginative, fun world. But regardless of all the things that we said, I'm very excited. The only thing I do want to point out is that Dumbledore teaches transfiguration, which is turning animals into other objects. Either other animals, turning yourself into an animal, or turning
things into other things.
Right.
Basically.
And Dumbledore's very blatantly teaching defense against the dark arts in this trailer. So either he changes into a transfiguration teaching job somewhere, or they're going to change the mythos of the books for the film series for him being a defense against the dark arts teacher, which I will say, if we're treating the books and the movies as two separate storytelling entities, which J.K. Rowling says that she does. She sees them at this point as two different storylines. If we're sticking with the book storyline and this were to exist in the book canon, he would be teaching transfiguration. If they're changing it, I think it makes more sense for the movie's plot and how it ends up, where things go for him to teach defense against the dark arts, seeing as that was pretty much devoted his whole life to that. Even as a headmaster. While he was there, his only thing he was worried about was defending everybody against the dark arts and teaching them how to do it. Which is why he allowed things like the dueling club to spring up and defended Harry when he started Dumbledore's army and wasn't pissed at him when he named it after him, which was stupid. So I'm just interested in all this.
Agree. I think that one looks good. Next
Tyler.
up, Glass. M. Night Shyamalan Ding Dong's Glass.
You've seen Unbreakable, haven't you?
Uh-huh.
So I think you're more experienced to talk about that. I've seen Split. I have not seen Unbreakable.
Okay.
Go.
It looks dope. It looks really, really good. I watched Split again recently to get a refresher because I was expecting a trailer soon, and I'm really excited for this movie. I am a huge fan of superheroes and a huge fan of not Marvel DC superheroes. Because I feel like that's awesome, and you get unique perspectives and unique stories and arcs and all that. I think the idea of Glass influencing the Beast is terrifying, and I love the idea of taking the suspense that was built up in Split, and knowing where he's at already, and then just releasing that out into the world. Horrifying, and I love the idea of Unbreakable guy whose name escapes me because I haven't seen Unbreakable in a long time. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
But Bruce Willis's character, I think seeing him go up against the Beast is going to be super cool.
Yeah, I know about Unbreakable. I've seen Split, loved Split. It was great. That's all I really have to say about it. But I think not knowing anything about Unbreakable still makes this movie look pretty interesting. Sarah Paulson's in it, and she always crushes it. If you've seen her, she was in the O.J. Simpson miniseries that was out. She's also an American Horror Story vet. So she's excellent, really, in everything that I see her in. So I'm excited to see a movie. Honestly, if you had just told me it was a Sarah Paulson movie coming out, I'd check that shit out. But it also just happens to look very good. So sign me up for that. I'm ready.
Yeah, that one. It's sad we don't have much to say about it just because it looks really good.
But I mean, the trailers can't give you anything.
Really,
we have nothing. It's not like I can dissect it in the way I just did in a Harry Potter trailer for probably an hour and a half. It's there's
about
not
25 minutes.
Yeah, it doesn't give us enough to really talk about. So I mean, I think that's to me that's good hype for us to be excited about it without knowing a goddamn thing about it. That's good. But that's going to bring more people in.
Word.
Because while I am excited for the Crimes of Grindelwald, kind of have an idea what's going to happen. It's pretty clear to see the story arc and whatnot. So if I had to wait till it came out on Blu-ray, I probably could.
Okay. It sounded like you had more to say.
Nope.
Sorry. All right. And then last but not least, at least as far as the Comic-Con nerdy shit is concerned, Godzilla King of Monsters.
No.
I think the trailer is really, really good, but I am not entirely sold that the movie is going to be good. I really enjoyed the way the trailer was built. I love a lot of the shots. It's very beautifully shot. I love the implications of the trailer that it's just going to be Godzilla asserting dominance over like 19 different variety of fucked up giant kaiju monster things. But I like to think that they learned their lesson from the first Godzilla, and it won't take an hour and a half to see him for the first time.
Yeah, that's one thing I was disappointed when I saw this trailer. I just thought, if I have to watch another hour and a half to 2 hours of everybody getting ready for a dinosaur to stand up, I'm going to be really pissed off. And that's what this fucking trailer looks like. We're going to wait an hour and a half for a dinosaur and a giant moth and a bunch of other weird creatures to stand up. And I don't want to do that.
Yeah. So, we'll see. I'm interested. I really am. I think it looks cool. Competently filmed, at least.
Yeah, I mean, it looks expertly filmed and expertly, like, the cinematography looks great. All the performances look like they're great. Eleven's in it, which is great.
Yep.
It's just, I really hope that I don't have to wait for an animal to stand up all day. It's really boring.
Agreed. And that's enough of that. Are there any other...
There's one other thing about that, though. I remember reading a lot early on that King Kong is supposed to be in this movie.
Oh, yeah.
And if
he never shows up in this trailer.
Not in the trailer, not mentioned at all. And if they talked about him being in this and then they just like tease him at the end, I'm gonna be even more pissed off.
Yeah, I'll grant you that too.
Yeah, come on now. Because Kong was so good. They didn't hide him for that long, but they revealed him in such a cool way.
And I love how everyone's worried that he's gonna be tiny, and then they were like, "Yeah, but he's like a teenager."
Yeah.
He's still got a lot of growing to do.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for the idea of a Kong that is the size,
super big,
that is like almost the size of Godzilla. That'd be dope.
Yeah.
Otherwise, he would be completely and utterly evaporated by even the smallest of any of the monsters that's showing up.
If he's the size that he is in Kong, when he shows up to this movie,
we're going to see him for a minute.
And he's going to just like melt. I'm sorry, I don't hold out much hope for this movie.
Clearly. That's all right. I think it'll be a fun romp. We'll see.
ROMP.
Yep. Any other trailers you want to talk about?
The Purge TV show dropped a trailer.
Yep.
Looks just like the movies.
Yep.
But longer.
Uh-huh.
And all the parts that suck about those movies, like the characters, we just get more of that.
Yep.
Next.
Nothing else?
No.
All right.
It just looks...
So, give me your favorite of all of these trailers.
My favorite?
Favorite trailer, not most anticipated movie.
Favorite trailer is still Shazam.
Okay.
I laughed.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I think when it comes to how trailers are made, it got me really excited for a property that I was not excited for at all.
Mm-hmm.
Before seeing the trailer, I knew about Shazam's backstory and whatnot, but he was one of my least favorite heroes because of the ridiculous concept. And the fact that they could take somebody like me, who didn't hold out much faith for it at all, take what is understood to be a very ridiculous concept and make me love the concept in 2 minutes. That's well done trailer making, if you ask me.
Word. Least favorite trailer.
Least favorite trailer, Aquaman.
Yeah.
Whew.
Yeah.
Way
to go, DC.
Yeah.
Bingo boingo.
Yeah. And we didn't talk at all about James Wan. I love him. He's a great filmmaker.
Yeah, I agree.
But when he does action, I don't know what happens to him. I'm not trying to be like mean or spiteful. I think the man is ultra talented, but I did not like Furious 7. It was one of my least favorites in the Furious franchise.
Uh-huh.
And then to go from that, like, hey man, take this movie, take Aquaman, a ridiculous concept, and give it to the guy who made a car jump from one skyscraper into another skyscraper through a window. There's no way that. Next.
Most anticipated.
The movie I'm excited for the most?
Yeah.
Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just going to call it that because that's what it is.
Yeah. And least anticipated.
Aquaman.
Really? Over Godzilla?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would much rather go see Godzilla than Aquaman, I think.
All right. My favorite trailer was, probably Shazam. It's kind of a tie between Shazam and Godzilla, just as trailers.
Yeah.
But because I hold out more hope for Shazam as a movie because of it, I think I have to give it to Shazam. And then, Aquaman was definitely my least favorite trailer. And the one I'm least excited for
as well
is Aquaman. Yeah. But the one I'm most excited for might surprise you, Glass.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really excited for that.
Cool.
So yeah. All
All
right,
right.
we have a few little headlines I want to talk about,
Little headline.
but then we got to get right into the reviews
we got to get into the
because we've been recording for a while.
Yeah, that's okay.
So first,
Mamma mia.
nope, Wonder Woman 1984 had a panel, and Chris Pine. They showed
Pine.
footage, and Chris Pine was there, and everyone's wondering how the fuck he survived.
Yeah.
And is there.
We had the same discussion too when we talked about they released a photo that is a still image from the movie of him in 1984.
It's only 3 weeks into production right now.
Yeah.
So
What, the movie?
yeah.
Well, they've been filming it for a while.
No.
Yeah. I don't know where you got that, but if you remember about a month or so ago, we did an episode of Midnight Masterminds where they released a still image, and that image was from one of the first days of production, and that's why we talked about it. You were there.
Oh, I think the most important headline this week, at least that we're going to cover, I don't know if you remember, but we talked about George Clooney got in a scooter accident in Italy. He's okay.
Thank God.
Yeah, he's all right. He's all right. That was
the best Batman lives.
that was the best moment of news for me this whole week.
He's okay.
He's all right.
He's okay.
He's good.
But back on Wonder Woman, I'm excited about it because I like the first Wonder Woman.
I thought it was
back when I saw that image. I knew
super okay.
I thought that Steve Trevor was going to come back. Well, I knew that he was going to come back when they released that picture. Yeah. Also, if you go on the IMDb page, he's there. So I don't know if it's through flashback or whatever. But I love Chris Pine. He was one of the better parts of that movie. So it's smart of them to continue using him. But if they just pull some weird shit where he just didn't actually die, then I don't know how they're going to explain how he didn't age at all. I don't know. I'm excited to see how they piece it together.
Yeah. We'll see.
We'll see.
And then
we're moving right on.
The last headline we're going to talk about before we get into our reviews.
Well, there's one more, Mr. Venom.
Oh, right. Never mind.
We'll
talk about Venom. There were some new footage, I think, was released for Venom.
At Comic-Con.
At Sandy Con.
Full disclosure, we weren't there. We know this stuff because we just read articles all day.
Yep.
What do you do all day?
Probably more important stuff. But yeah, so some footage and images were released of the new Venom, and I guess people saw his chest, and it's not a spider.
No. Ruben Fleischer, the director, he outright told everybody we are not doing the spider on purpose. And he just said it wouldn't. And he was I saw watching an interview, and Tom Hardy surprised everybody and showed up to the panel, which was cool.
Yep.
And I think that was his first time. Yeah, that was his first time there. He said in that interview. And everybody was like,
well, he is like hardcore repping this movie. He's like really excited about it.
He loves it. Yeah. But anyway, I loved his answer too, by the way. In the same interview, somebody asked him, or when he was on the panel, why don't you pick Venom? He's like, I think he's one of the coolest looking characters around, you know? And that was pretty much it.
Yep.
I was like, all right, well.
Shut up, Crow. Yeah. I mean, it makes sense that like people upset about the no spider thing are like kind of upsetting me because the whole reason he has the spider on his chest in the first place in the comics, the symbiote that takes over Eddie Brock is an offshoot of the symbiote that took over Spider-Man and gave him the black suit.
Right.
So it's emulating what it knew from Peter Parker's Spider-Man, thus presents the spider on his chest, and then I think Carnage gets one too, doesn't he?
I don't know if he has a spider.
And some
he has a lot of the same powers from set and whatnot, but. Instead, apparently what it is it is a new design or pattern. They just came up with something new that they thought looked good. And it actually comes together through Venom's veins, so they made him a vascular character. And the veins kind of come together on his chest and make some sort of a pattern or symbol. It's just we don't know what it is because we weren't there. And I guess it's not outright meant to just be a symbol. You're not supposed to look at that and go, what's that new symbol? It's just supposed to look like something visually interesting because having just a blank chest was kind of boring for them, they said. So these veins coming together and making some sort of eye-catching pattern, pretty good save, I guess.
Yeah.
Because putting the spider on there would make no sense at all.
Agreed.
It'd be very confusing.
Agreed.
Yeah. Why does this giant symbiote man have a decal? Doesn't make any sense. So,
but
I'm pumped for it.
Yeah, me too. I'm really stoked to see this movie. I think it's my most anticipated comic book movie between now and Avengers 4, which is probably surprising. But Spider-Verse is so special to me, and we need good stuff in it because it's been a long time since we've
that new Spider-Verse movie looks good too.
Yeah, it does. I'm really excited for this year.
Ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
Let's get to the elephant in the room, shall we?
Yeah.
It's hard for me to say.
I know.
I actually started to talk and I stopped.
It hurts.
I just want to preface this with everybody should know, Tyler knows for sure, that the Guardians franchise is by and large my absolute favorite comic book film franchise. Like, when it comes to franchises in general, and by franchise I mean there's only 2 movies, and for me to like it as much as I do, it's pretty out there. Underneath Harry Potter definitely is Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yep.
I love those characters, and James Gunn, as a creator and storyteller, has actually been a really big inspiration to me. Listening to his interviews and how he talks about his career, how he started out as a very low budget, super indie filmmaker making horror movies, super low budget.
First, major Hollywood credit was as a supportive writer on the fucking first live action Scooby-Doo movie.
Yeah, and he had super humble beginnings in the writing. Like, he started as a writer. And he had a very long climb up the ladder to get to where he got with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. And yesterday.
A couple of days ago, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I believe, the 20th.
Yeah.
He was fired from Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which is upsetting because he created that from the ground up.
Yeah.
And we talked about on the last episode, I think, how Marvel goes about casting and filling out the crew for their movies. And they had their idea for, we want to make a Guardians of the Galaxy movie. That's our next big thing. We know kind of what we want, but we're going to approach directors with unique visions, and we're going to ask them to do a pitch. So right off the bat, I want to say, Disney approached him. Just plain and simple.
Yep.
So they approached him, and he came up with a pitch that they bought. And if anyone out there who loves the Guardians movies and loves the fact that Star-Lord is connected to Earth through music, that was 100% James Gunn's idea and choice.
Yep.
They said one of the biggest challenges you'll have with this movie, to the people who are pitching, is that you're going to have to find a way to connect the Star-Lord Peter Quill character to Earth, and he decided to use music. And the music itself became this crazy character within the movie.
Yep. And
the fact that he did 1 and 2, and they're universally loved, and 2 is even a more deeply emotional movie, especially for what happens in the end. That's a big thing for a lot of people who have lost loved ones. Like, I know I lost a loved one right around the time the movie came out, and I was like, wow, great timing.
Yeah.
But honestly, it was a helpful thing. And I think storytelling is most effective when it's personal, even if it's in space and it's about all these characters. When it's
doesn't matter how far away something is, if it's a story that relates.
It's deeply personal, right? If your movies are personal and people can see themselves in it, people can feel that they're not alone in feeling what they're feeling, right? And for Marvel and Disney to just snap so quickly and just fire him over what we'll tell you he was fired for, is really just seems kind of disingenuous and inconsiderate about the journey that he went on as a filmmaker to get to where he got, seeing as they were a part of it.
Yeah.
And we'll get to all that, but he was fired for a series of tweets that he put out that are distasteful.
Very.
Between around 2009 and 2011 or so.
It was 2008 and 2012.
There you go.
Yep.
And he went back through when they were starting to resurface and deleted them, trying to get rid of the evidence and whatnot. But a lot of them had jokes about pedophilia and murder and suicide and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And yes, those jokes are distasteful and they're gross. But it's I'll give the ball to you for a little bit while I queue up this stuff.
Yeah, it's frustrating because it was such a politically motivated move, the people that brought these tweets to the light. It wasn't people just trying to do anything other than get him fired and silenced for talking against their guy. Yeah. So it was a conservative propaganda news site, it seems.
And I have tweets from that person pulled up.
Oh, yeah. Please read them because it's interesting to see. But yeah, it was a conservative online news site that brought him up in an effort to get him fired and silenced, because James Gunn is one of the most vocal critics of the current presidential
and he's very vocal on Twitter. I mean, he tweets multiple times a day, which at this point I'm starting to say is just a dangerous thing to do.
Yep.
just don't do it, really. But I mean, we're talking about tweets that he put out 10 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean, 10 years is a long time. And I want to talk a little bit about Sean Gunn, James Gunn's brother, because he put out a post that summarizes it absolutely perfectly.
Yeah.
So Sean Gunn is his brother, and Sean Gunn is an actor in his own right. He's done a lot of work on sitcoms, and he's in both the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. And it's his brother, so of course he's going to have something to say about it.
Yep.
So I'm just going to read you the post because it puts it way better than any of my commentary can put it into right now, based on what I may or may not have already said.
And likewise.
So he goes... It goes without saying that I love and support my brother James, and I'm quite proud of how kind, generous, and compassionate he is with all of the people in his life. Since he was a kid, it was clear that he had the desire, maybe even the destiny, to be an artist, tell stories, and find his voice through comics, films, and his band. The struggle to find that voice was sometimes clunky, misguided, or downright stupid, and sometimes wonderful and moving and hilarious. Since devoting his entire life to the Guardians movies and the MCU 6 years ago, I've seen him channel that voice into his work, and I've seen him transform from the guy that made up things to shock people. And I saw firsthand as he went from worrying about softening his edge for a larger audience to realizing that his edge wasn't as useful of a tool as he thought it was. This gift for storytelling was something even better. I saw that he was more open-hearted than the guy who thought he needed to get a rise out of people by making nasty or offensive jokes, or whatever you choose to call them. I don't think his bluer material was ever his funniest, and neither does my mom. And the best part about this is, where he says, and the best part is, this change in my brother was reflected in the change that the Guardians go through. I've heard my brother say many times that Quill rallies around his team with his, this is our chance to give a shit, to care, that this prep talk is what he himself needed to hear. It's part of what made working on the Guardians movie such a rewarding experience for the cast. We managed to find ourselves involved in a big budget superhero movie that was, at its core, deeply personal, and that's a gift. And that's why it's good. And this isn't new information, by the way. All the stuff that James has explained many times in interviews and in more detail and more eloquently. It's not some new spin. It's always been out there as a part of the story, so I guess my hope is that fans continue to watch and appreciate the Guardians movies, not despite of the fact that the filmmaker used to be kind of a jackass, but because of it. They are, after all, movies about discovering your best self. Working on those movies made my brother a better person, and they made me a better one too. I'll always be proud of that. Peace. Thank you, Sean Gunn.
Yeah.
Because I can't say that any better.
Right.
You can't.
And that's, I think, part of why he's getting so much support from so many people. It's like no one's saying that what he said isn't that bad. No one's really going for that argument. Mm-hmm. It's more that, like, sure, but 10 years ago I was a piece of shit too.
Yeah.
I think if someone's still a piece of shit and you go back in time and you bring up, look at how they were a piece of shit back then, look at just more piece of shit things that they're doing.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Sure.
Because if they're still a piece of shit and they've been a piece of shit for 10 years, that just makes them more of a piece of shit now.
Yeah.
But if someone used to be a piece of shit and they're one of the most well-regarded people in an industry that is really kind of struggling to find well-regarded people anymore,
yeah,
and you're going to blast him immediately because of something he said 10 years ago that was brought up only as a political attack to get a very vocal person with an audience to shut up about criticism for a president who doesn't necessarily live up to snuff for a lot of people.
Yep.
I think it is incredibly irresponsible on the part of Disney. I think it is incredibly unfortunate on the part of Disney and Marvel, and I think it's just all in all, it's an infuriating and upsetting
experience
situation.
And it's go ahead.
Maybe he should have been fired for the things he said, because I'm not going to say what the tweets were.
I mean, we already told you what the themes of the
you
jokes
can find
are,
them, and it's bad. It's gross. It made me uncomfortable to read, and it's like it sucks.
Yeah.
But again, 10 years ago. And he wasn't saying that he believes these things. They were shitty jokes.
Yeah, they were jokes.
Which is a whole other fucking bag of worms to get into.
Well, you can joke about what you can't joke about.
Yeah.
And there are comedians who have actually made the comments, even recently. I don't exactly remember who said it, but I was watching a comedy special, and they said, have you ever tried to read comedy? It sucks.
It's Jim Jeffries.
It's uncomfortable.
Someone gave a review of one of the jokes he made about, I don't even remember, but he said, if you take away the of delivery, then the stuff that you say is awful. If you just read just completely monotone some of the material that people really find humor in, it's like, I would say at least 50% of comedy is in how you deliver it, maybe even more.
More than that, I think.
So yeah, but it's kind of irrelevant because he is by so many people regarded as just like a bastion of how to be a good guy, and he's kind and gentle, like Dave Bautista said in a bunch of tweets to support James Gunn. Is that like he is such a kind, good-hearted person that this is why it's so sad to see this happening. And I'm really upset with Marvel more than Disney, because Disney, say what you will about how Disney has the magic and all that, they are the most corporate entity in the world, I think, because they have a brand that they are magical, but it's such an important ingrained thing to them that we got to maintain the magic, blah blah blah. But I'm upset with Feige for not fighting a little harder.
Maybe he did, we don't know.
True. I don't want to assume he didn't, but to me right now the impression is that, oh no, people are upset with James Gunn for saying something. Get him the fuck out of here. Yep. And they didn't really think about anything else. They were just, it was reactive and not.
Back when Marvel was bought by Disney, I had these concerns that the meddling would go too far. And I have a feeling that if Marvel was still a privately owned company and they were still just Marvel, this may not have been an issue.
No, probably not.
Just
At the same time, we wouldn't have had the movies that we have. So there's a give and a take.
It does help that they have the Marvel, or that they have the Disney money to pull this stuff off, sure. But I feel like they would have still
found a way.
Yeah. But again, they still had Disney resources, so it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
But I want to talk a little bit about, we talked about The Hangover on one of the other, I don't know if the last episode or the one before.
I think it was the last one.
We talked, and it's funny how that kind of brings it back, because we talked about a movie that is 10 years old.
Yep.
And how the jokes were just really offensive and not funny based on today's standards.
Yeah.
Where Bradley Cooper, on like 3 or 4 different occasions, got laughs
for calling
people gay and faggot. So are we going to go and ostracize Bradley Cooper and Todd Phillips now? No. They're both still working and having great careers because they morphed and changed as people.
Yep.
So we're going to ostracize James Gunn, who went through one of the most complex transformations anyone could probably go through? That's fucked up.
Yeah.
What we're teaching our people is that it's not okay. Don't be yourself.
Yeah.
Don't show yourself on your sleeve, this is how I changed. Mm-hmm. Don't do that.
Yeah, don't become different. Don't try to better yourself, because if you're a shitty person, people will only ever see you as a shitty person.
The only way that I'll forgive Disney is if they bring James Gunn back, which they won't fucking do.
Nope.
I don't think that Volume 3 is going to be a bad movie.
Nope.
Because James Gunn wrote the script by himself, turned it in. They already built like the sets. They're getting ready to film very soon. So it's not like they can backtrack on any of the story elements. So I feel like we'll still get the ending to the Guardians trilogy that we always would have. I feel like we're going to miss a lot of the charm.
Yeah.
And it's just not going to be
there. It'll feel like it'll feel like an Ant-Man. Like, this is competently made, but
because the first Ant-Man, if you don't know, if you listen to this, you probably do know, but in case you don't, Ant-Man was written by Edgar Wright, and again, if you don't know who that is, he's one of probably the most famous auteur filmmakers that it's out there these days. People just love him and everything he does.
Yeah.
And he wrote and was prepping to make the first Ant-Man movie back when Iron Man 1 was being made. That's how long he had been working on it.
Earlier than that, I think.
Like, they were being developed like at the same time. And they went with Iron Man, and they made that, and Ant-Man was always like going to be the next one, and the next one, and the next one, and it was finally time. They were getting ready. They even did test shot. I saw test footage that they brought, shot by Edgar Wright, to San Diego Comic-Con. They got that far, and then he quit.
Yep.
And they hired Peyton Reed. And if you've seen Ant-Man and the Wasp, I will sing this to the heavens. Peyton Reed is a great filmmaker, and he makes a great Ant-Man movie. But the first Ant-Man just felt like someone else made an Edgar Wright movie. And it's just weird.
Yeah.
So Ant-Man and the Wasp is a Peyton Reed movie, and it just feels fun and different with a lot of the fun elements that we got in the first one.
Yep.
I just don't want that to happen to Guardians Volume 3, where we bring in a filmmaker who can get it done, but it just feels like someone else is making a James Gunn movie. So it's sad. It's sad mostly in just what had happened, how it went down.
Yeah.
The reason they brought it up, and here's why. Here's what makes it all sad, and what makes me feel like that this is all for nothing. I'm gonna read you, and I want to thank Patton Oswalt for tweeting this out. That's how I caught it.
Yep.
And it's the guy. His name is Mike. What is that? Cernovich.
Whatever.
Probably how you say it.
Something like that.
This is one of his tweets from the same time period that James Gunn was tweeting what he was tweeting. Have you guys ever tried, quote-unquote, raping a girl without using force? Try it. It's basically impossible. Date rape does not exist.
Yeah.
So that's the guy who got James Gunn fired from his job.
Yep. But this guy will continue to be a successful journalist writing for conservative press that'll probably get supported by Donald Trump. But we're not going to get into that.
Yeah. So at the same time, that was a 2012 tweet. So him and James Gunn are pretty much tweeting the same level humor jokes. Why are we going after one another?
Well, that's the thing, is that is personal belief. James Gunn tweeted a joke about a monkey, like, doing unseemly things.
Yeah.
And that's why he got fired. Like, that's the thing. It's unequal, and it sucks. And, I mean, Disney is not responsible for that piece of shit.
No.
So, I mean...
Disney just reacted to what someone else was doing. Someone created a media storm,
yeah.
and Disney, and then everyone looked at Disney like, what you going to do? And they're like, well, we kind of have to now, and they did it. And
it's like... Last thing I want to say about it, and then I want to move on because talking about it upsets me.
Yeah.
Is outrage culture is getting really out of hand. By no means do I think people should not have the right to say, hey, that pisses me off. What can we do about it? 100%. That is freedom of speech in its purest form. But the fact that it is so cool to talk about how pissed off you are about something, that things like this will get blown out of proportion like nothing else. And people throw context to the fucking dogs and don't give a shit. They're like, James Gunn said this. Never mind how long ago he said it, where he was when he said it, who he is now, and what he's done in between because, surprise, he's been apologizing for this shit for about 8 years now.
Yeah.
Very vocally.
Yep.
He's been apologizing for all the shit that he used to say.
I think that's why he left it up. When this was going on, he went back and deleted about 10,000 tweets from that time period.
Yep.
But he left them up for 8 to 10 years because he wanted everyone to see the progress that he made as a human being.
Yep.
And that's the reason why, if anyone has seen my personal YouTube page, I didn't delete all my high school videos. I left up my very first video, which is horribly shot and horribly edited.
Yep.
And actually the first 15 videos, which are horribly shot and horribly edited. So as I put more stuff out, people can, if anyone looks at it, they can see an evolution of progress. That's what I wanted to achieve, and I think in a much different, more interesting way, James Gunn was doing the same thing. And I've had people actually tell me, you should probably take down your old videos, and to all those people, I've always said that would defeat the purpose of doing.
So, moral of the story is, James Gunn will be fine.
Yeah,
he'll go on and he'll have a good career, and he's even said, it's like,
he's been a good sport about it.
Yeah, instead of looking at this isn't a quote or anything, but this is the general vibe that he's been giving out, is instead of looking at this as getting fired from his fucking baby, it's getting an early retirement and being able to go back to what he was doing before, which is passion project, the indie horror films and more niche films, which, great. We haven't had a James Gunn movie that wasn't a Guardians because he's been pouring his goddamn heart and soul into these movies for the last 6 years. Yeah. But that's whatever.
One of the only Marvel directors, by the way, to be brought back for 2 sequels, 3 movies in total. The only other director that got that treatment was nobody, because after Iron Man 2, Jon Favreau was out.
Yep.
And
after Thor 2, Kenneth Branagh was out.
Yep. And we can go back through all of them, but like Captain America, the only directors they ever kept around were the Russo brothers.
Yep.
And Peyton Reed. And again, Peyton Reed was a late addition, so I almost don't even count Ant-Man 1 as a Peyton Reed movie.
I don't. Yeah.
But so they had they were getting ready to make the first threequel of a director, and again, the only film franchise that they let one person direct and write the whole thing.
Yep.
Like Taika Waititi didn't write Thor Ragnarok, as much as everyone loves that movie and it is expertly directed and a fucking riot. He didn't write that movie. James Gunn wrote and directed all the Guardians movies. Jon Favreau didn't write Iron Man 1.
Yep.
Like that's to show one person have that much talent is scary.
That's the thing that hurts the most, is they did such a 180 on him so quick.
Yep.
It's like it proves if you ever that's why it feels like a betrayal almost.
It does.
It's like it proves that anybody who's been defending Disney for not being this corporate monster is just, I'm getting emotional right now. Wow, I just felt choke up happen. It proves that no matter how hard you've been defending Disney for however long, that they really genuinely, it seems anyway because of this, do not give a fuck about making good things. They care about making a hell of a lot of money. And the thing that was making a hell of a lot of money with the Guardians movies is this James Gunn guy.
Yeah.
But fuck it. Oh, people were upset at him for like a week? Shit. Or not even. It's been a day. He had 6 hours to do damage control before they chopped his fucking head off.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, Tyler just showed up to the podcast, everybody.
Sorry.
We could talk about this all. This could be the longest podcast ever. I don't really care.
Yeah,
here's what again, going back through everything that we said. The only cast member who has shown up, other than Sean Gunn, to defend James Gunn, and again, probably just for the sake of their reputations, is Dave Bautista, because
Michael Rooker did a little bit.
I didn't see anything from him.
Michael Rooker did, and it was weird, and people were like, "What?" And he deleted it, and then he just tweeted. Someone was like, "So, what do you think? What do you think about James Gunn?" And he goes, "James Gunn knows what I think. That's what's important."
I like that.
So
well, that says everything you probably need to say.
Yeah.
Michael Rooker and James Gunn have been friends since his very first movie.
Yep.
His very first movie. And I think their little relationship is hilarious and great and awesome.
I'm Mary Poppins, y'all.
Yeah, and I just can't get over how, like, seeing someone who, for me personally, as someone who's trying to make it in the business, so inspired by a person, just get ostracized like that is, and you said you were getting emotional during it. I don't think we're getting emotional because we know James Gunn.
No.
I think because, and I said this earlier, is we all see ourselves in characters and movies and whatnot. So when we're following these celebrities as they go through their arc, we sort of see ourselves in that person. I see myself as somebody like a James Gunn, where when I eventually get the kickstart done on my turn in the business, and it already is sort of starting, which is great. I see myself in a similar boat. Somebody who, my big passion is storytelling, and I want to have a similar career to him, and to see him achieve what he got to achieve with the Guardians movies is like, man, there's hope for someone like me. Yeah. And then this tells you, it's like, well, no, there's not actually.
Yep. I don't want to. That's more or less how we feel.
Yeah.
Without talking about
those are all the feels. There you go.
For the next 2.5 hours.
We could go on.
Because we could. That's how we feel about it.
Mm-hmm.
If you're one of the people bashing him,
I hate you.
Yep. If you're one of the people supporting him,
I love you.
Yep. And that's the end of that for this week.
There you go.
Maybe if something happens during the week, we'll talk about it again next week.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
I mean, we're obviously going to report on who the next director is going to be.
Yep.
If anyone else has anything to say about it.
Yep.
I mean, all the cast members are kind of dodging it.
Yep.
Especially
all the like more high-profile cast
and
members.
I'm sad, honestly. I get it, but I'm sad that Chris Pratt's avoiding it because
that one feels a little like
that's a little bit of a dig.
That's a little sellouty too, and it's like it's so many people. You just like nope, never mind.
No, this is the last. Like
I would have ranted for another hour.
I know
so.
This is the last sentiment. I don't have any ill will towards Chris Pratt. I love him to death.
Mm-hmm.
He's probably the biggest star on the face of the planet right now. He's having his time. He can't have it jeopardized by being a part of a political debate.
Yep.
So of course him and his publicists are telling him don't open your damn mouth because you're going to ruin this train we got going. I understand.
Yeah.
I appreciate that Dave Bautista said I don't give a fuck about all that because he also is in the middle of a career blossom.
Oh yeah.
And he just said fuck that. I want you to know what I think. But I get that Chris Pratt just his hands are really tied.
Yeah.
The only reason that it's a little sad is because he doesn't owe his entire career to James Gunn.
He owes a lot of it to James Gunn.
He was an amazing actor in his own right before.
And having a good time.
But he was a comedy actor on a TV show.
Mm-hmm.
And James Gunn put him into a slingshot and shot him into the moon. And now he is the biggest star on the planet because of Star-Lord. And again, Chris Pratt did the work and he put in the work.
Oh, yeah.
And, he did all that.
James Gunn gave him
his shot.
Gave him the screen for Chris Pratt to just be like, hey guys, this is me. Do you like it? And everyone was like, yes.
Yeah. So it's to see. I'm sure that he supports James Gunn. Also seeing how he is as a person and watching his. If you look at him on his Instagram and read his opinions towards everything, you probably get the feeling that he supports James Gunn. Mm-hmm. That you would, but that's total assumption.
Yeah.
Total assumption.
Yeah.
But anyway, let's move on to Mamma Mia. Here we go again.
Our reviews this week, and I don't think we're going to talk very long about any of these movies.
I don't have much to say, really, even being honest.
But it's sequels week. We had Mamma Mia 2, reining in $39 million in its debut weekend.
It sure did.
Equalizer 2.
It sure did.
Raking in $33 million.
It sure did.
And Unfriended Dark Web.
It sure did.
Raking in $7.4 million.
It sure did.
All right, go ahead. Talk about Mamma Mia 2. I didn't see that shit.
So I feel like I've talked enough about Mamma Mia for a lifetime. Talk about the first one. So here's what I will say. I enjoyed watching the second one, way more than I enjoyed watching the first one.
Wow.
It's a new director, it's a new writer, it's the same guy. His name is Ol Parker, so he directed and wrote this movie.
Yep.
It brings back all of the cast members.
Which I will say is fucking stacked.
Yeah.
There's
yeah.
So many
Especially
interesting,
with the big
important people.
surprise cameo at the end, which if you've seen the trailer, you know who it is. But if you don't want to be spoiled, spoilers, 3, 2, 1, it's Cher. Oh my god. But anyway, it's the basic story here is it's sort of in the... They took a little micro part of the first movie and just stretched it out into a bigger movie. So I told you in the review for Mamma Mia that Meryl Streep's character doesn't know who the father of her baby is, right? So this is about the very... it felt like a week, but it was probably longer than that. It was probably a couple months.
Yep.
They did a good job of making it feel like it was like a week, where she met these 3 guys and had a genuine connection to each one of them and had no reason to think she was going to see the other one again. So just, she banged him. So just move on. So... they do a really good job at not making it feel like slutty. They do a really good job at making it feel like each one is a genuine connection. It's like, oh, I don't really do this kind of thing, but I'm feeling this connection. Okay, well, I got to go to the next town now because she's trying to, find herself and she's traveling the world.
Yep.
I don't want to say I do not appreciate it when movies make it seem like you can find yourself by traveling the world because it's really hard to travel the world and it's really expensive.
Yeah, and you can find yourself traveling around your small town.
Yeah,
it's the thing about yourself.
Yeah,
it's in you.
But traveling. I don't want to say don't travel the world. But what I'm saying is, it makes you feel like, man, if you're like 21 and you don't know who you are, save up a couple,
tens of thousands of dollars
and go travel the world and find yourself.
And go to fucking Nepal and walk around for a little while and get killed
or
in
Paris, which is where she does go.
Oh, okay.
But here's what I will say. It takes place during that time period. Lily James plays a young Meryl Streep, and she does a phenomenal job. I love Lily James.
Yeah, me too.
If you don't know who she is.
Huge fan.
She is she's the waitress in
she's
Baby
Debbie
Driver.
in
Baby Driver.
In Baby Driver,
and she does an amazing job here. I read a little bit about her prep for the role, and she said that she watched the first movie a bunch of times, and she just listened to nothing but Meryl Streep songs from the soundtrack on repeat every day, and she knew all the words to every character's beats in the whole movie, and she just got her mannerisms down perfect. And I will say that she did a really good job. But what we got a lot of fun with here is a lot of new actors coming in and playing the younger versions of all these really old, very experienced and well-regarded actors.
Yeah.
And they all did an amazing job. Like, every single one of them did a really good job of impersonating who they were supposed to impersonate. In fact, let's see if I can find it here. Young Harry. Where are you at? Young Harry. Hugh Skinner. You, sir, I would like to shake your hand because he impersonated Colin Firth so well it was haunting. How well that he made me believe that's young Colin Firth. He doesn't even really look like him all that much, but the way that he acts, if you guys know Colin Firth at all, if you've seen any of his movies, he has a very particular set of mannerisms and speech patterns and whatnot, and man, he emulated it perfectly. I would say he is a huge standout for the movie in terms of acting like the actor that they're supposed to act like. Some of them didn't even give it a shot.
How did Josh Dillon, the guy who played young Stellan Skarsgård, do?
He just acted like probably himself.
Got it.
But again, Stellan Skarsgård was a pretty run-of-the-mill, just like Sailor Dude type character, so it wasn't too hard to emulate. I would say that Colin Firth is more of a character, but my favorite character in the movie, played by Andy Garcia, is Fernando. He's so funny, man, because in the movie, he's just in the background at random points, so they'll be on the phone talking about one thing or another, in the background in very soft focus, it's just Andy Garcia poking his head around a corner like watching. And I'm like, what the hell is he doing? It was really weird. And it was really fun. I loved it. And then Cher is Amanda Seyfried's grandma. So she shows up, and she had been talking about... Well, Andy Garcia's character had been talking about this lost love that he had his whole life. And then Cher is sitting there, and she hugs her daughter, or her granddaughter, and sees Andy Garcia, because, again, he's creeping on the background all the time, and sees him and goes, "Wait! Is that?" And stands up, and then Andy Garcia's like, "Oh!" And they look at each other in that dramatic a fashion, and she goes, "Fernando!" And then they do Fernando, and that's the end of the movie. It was ridiculous. Oh, man. I will say that if I wasn't a part of this podcast, I would have never seen either of these movies, and I'm glad I did, just because like how much enjoyment I'm feeling right now talking about it.
Talking about Fernando.
And the best part is, in the end, Amanda Seyfried has her baby, because that's the whole thing. Is like, oh my God, what happened when my mom was pregnant? Because I'm pregnant. We want to feel the same feelings. Anyway, Andy Garcia's brother is played by the most interesting man on earth. And when he showed up, I was the only one in the theater who gave a fuck, and I was really upset because there was a bunch of old ladies, me and Katimae. And he showed up, and I was like, no, that's the most interesting man in the world! And everyone was like, shut up, man. I'm like, oh, you guys don't give a fuck? Whatever.
Oh, shit.
But anyway, yeah. Here's my review of the movie. It's better. Go watch it. Next.
All right. The Equalizer 2.
Directed by Anton Fuqua, starring
Denzel Washington and Pedro Pascal.
Yes.
Or Prince Oberyn, I think is his name, from Game of Thrones.
Pedro
Pascal.
Yeah, there you go.
Directed by Antoine Fuqua, written by Richard Wank and Michael Sloan.
First sequel Denzel Washington has ever done.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow.
Crazy.
Okay.
Yep.
I didn't know that.
There you go.
Cool.
Bam.
Yeah, it's not alright.
Hit it.
It's an alright movie.
It's
beautifully executed, beautifully acted, beautifully directed, beautifully shot.
Poorly written.
Very poorly written, yeah. Like, there's a couple really good action sequences and incredible character moments.
Yes.
Sprinkled into a movie that they just did not write a plot for.
Yeah, it was the character beats in this are so well executed in the way that only Anton Fuqua and Denzel Washington teaming up can do, because they're a very unique duo. And when they get together, you'll get some real good character stuff. And there's a scene out of this movie that I swear to God belongs more in Fences than it belongs in this movie. But it's the scene between Denzel Washington and
Anton Sanders.
Yeah, the character's name is Miles, played by Ashton Sanders.
Oh, sorry, Ashton Sanders. My fault.
And it's without giving you the details, because I don't want to ruin it really. Because
Yeah.
out of all the things I don't want to spoil, I want that scene to
That scene and that plot thread actually throughout
is so phenomenally done. I think that should just be like a short film. Just like shoot a different ending and make that a short film. That's to me is a way better movie than The Equalizer 2.
Seriously.
It's like a really good mini movie packed inside a really alright action movie. But overall, I liked it. I mean,
I was never. That's the thing. We've been blah. Wow.
Something that the last few weeks of movies have kind of gotten us to really think about, and it's more reinstating a belief that we've had throughout all our creative lives, is that good characters can salvage
anything.
an otherwise below average movie.
Right.
Because this movie, if it didn't have Denzel and it didn't have this Ashton Sanders guy, and it didn't have Pablo Pascal and the cast it had playing the characters they were playing, it would not have been good. It really would not have been.
Oh, Bill Pullman was randomly in it.
That too. But it would not have been good.
Yeah.
Like it's like with the Purge movies. You had Frank Grillo, and then I cannot remember his name, and I feel bad that I can't.
His last name is Noel.
Yep.
Yeah.
But that guy from the first Purge made those movies go from complete butthole garbage fire to watchable at least, and then this was something that would have been pretty kind of not good at all to it enjoyable in a lot of spots.
Yeah.
Like we looked at each other when that particular scene was over, and
our mouths were open.
Our jaws were down.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I will rent that movie again, skip the movie, and watch
that scene. Yep.
Yeah, it's that powerful.
Yep.
But,
it's a good movie pass movie.
Yeah, it's not.
If you're feeling curious, I say go for it with your movie pass.
I would say though, watch the first one before you watch the second one.
Agree.
You should, because Tyler didn't, and he was sitting there kind of going like, "What is this guy's? What does he do?" I don't. So it's just good to have an education, and the first one is just better.
Yeah.
It's a much more self-contained movie. This movie felt like all kinds of unnecessary. If they were trying to do, because The Equalizer is based on a TV show, so if you're trying to do that sort of execution where it's this is a self-contained story about defending a warehouse, and this is but this one wasn't really. It didn't feel like a self-contained story. It felt like a continuation of a story that was pretty well resolved. That's what makes it weird, I think. And the whole time you build towards this ending that just was, while it was a good climax, we built up for way too long towards a reveal that just had to do with white dudes wanting more money.
Yeah.
And it just... I've seen enough of those, you know?
Yeah.
If it didn't have those character beats, it would have been another white guy wants a lot of money movie. And I'm really getting sick of those, if I'm being honest.
Yeah, me too. And then, thirdly, last movie.
Oh, we're going to talk for another hour about this movie.
No, we're not. We're going to say what it was, who made it, and that it was bad.
Here's what I will say.
Unfriended Dark Web, which is a sequel to Unfriended, a movie that came out in 2015.
Yes.
And was also bad.
Yes.
But they are not tied together in any way, shape, or form besides the format they use to tell the story.
Correct. What was that?
Nothing.
What was that? Wow. Anyway, this is what I do want to say. There's this John Cho movie coming out. I forget what it's called. But it's...
Searching?
Something like that. But it looks phenomenal. It killed at Sundance. It's getting very good reviews. And I saw the trailer for it. And I did not want to see Unfriended because someone had told me, oh, Unfriended is coming out. We should go see it for the podcast. And it's a sequel to the first Unfriended. And I was like, oh, okay. And I randomly saw that trailer at some point, and I was like, oh, damn, that looks good. I'm ready for that because it's the same type of movie.
Yeah, Searching is almost identical, except it's not a horror movie. It's a thriller.
A thriller, right? So I was very excited to see that movie. And we're sitting down to watch Unfriended, the Dark Web. And again, I didn't do a whole lot of research into it because I was just like, oh, I saw the trailer. It looks good. And then the trailer came on again, and I was like, wait a minute. That's the movie I thought I was... Wait a minute. Is this a different movie? And then it started, and I was like, no!
And that sentiment remains true for the rest of the movie. Because... Oh, man.
Yeah, it's,
Oh, man.
Let's get right down to the nitty-gritty. You watch a horror movie for what thing? The kills.
Scares.
The scares and the kills and the thrills, right? It's had none of that, so...
Yeah. I will say, because I can't help but try to find some kind of positive thing.
Yeah.
This is a much better premise than the first one.
Yes, I agree.
Because the first one's about a fucking... internet witch.
Yeah,
it's like a girl kills herself because cyberbullies and then becomes a fucking computer witch who is haunting people through the computer. Like, fuck that. That's so dumb. Yeah. So goddamn dumb. But this one is just hackers that are really scary because they are really, really, really good hackers.
And it could be, everything that happens in that movie could potentially happen.
Yeah, and that's what was more scary than the movie itself, is that, fuck, this might happen or could happen
to a person, right?
Except for the awful fucking staticky digital warping effect. Man. Every time one of these asshole hackers walked on screen. They
would pixelate the screen so it would obscure what they look like. Yet, they're dressed in like black pants and a black sweatshirt and they have a hood up, so we wouldn't be able to see their fucking face anyway. So why are you pixelating it? I'm sure they thought it was like a cool effect. It was so annoying.
Just distracting.
Oh,
I was never like scared when that was happening because I was just like, fuck, this hurts my face to look at.
I don't like it. It would have been way scarier to just see a dude in the background.
Yep.
That would have been way scarier.
Sure, because like...
And they proved that they can do Photoshop to pin things on people in this movie. So why do you care if your face shows up on camera?
Yeah.
Shouldn't have mattered.
By the way, we're not worried about spoiling this one because it's a pile of dog balls.
Forget it. But here's what I will say. Better than most horror slashers and whatnot that I've seen recently, it does a really good job at the build. The thing is, they build...
For too long.
It's an hour and a half long movie, I believe.
Hour and 28 minutes.
So it's not even a full 90. And they build on the premise and don't start getting to, like, the kills until, like, almost an hour in.
Yeah.
That's too much story.
Yeah.
And something that we said really just, like, 10 minutes ago, the best movies are ones that have very simple stories but very complex characters.
Yes.
This was the opposite. Way too complex and diluted of a fucking story to build towards very, very unoriginal and unscary kills.
Yeah.
If you had built for a really long time and then you like ripped their lungs out through their nose, I would have been a lot happier because I at least got a catharsis of some kind.
Yeah.
But
which sounds fucked up, but like a lot
That's why you see a horror movie.
A lot of why horror movies are good is because they're some of the leading pioneers in practical effects and creativity as far as terrifying things happening to people. And like even the first one did that in a way.
Sure.
Not really that well.
The resolution was just botched.
But there's like a guy. So like they get possessed by computer witch into killing themselves, and one of the guys shoves his hand in a blender and then gets control of himself, smashes the bowl of the blender to get his hand out, and then shoves his head on the blender
and
instead.
His neck in there.
His neck.
That's why I want to.
That's pretty graphic and horrifying. One girl gets a fucking curling iron shoved down her throat.
Yeah.
There's another one where this girl drinks bleach and is just sitting straight up, staring at the camera.
It's like terrifying.
And it's terrifying because you think it's frozen, but then someone calls her and her phone vibrates across the table, so she's just still and staring at the camera. That's creepy. And like there's that kind of thing. But in this one, a dude gets run over by a car. A chick gets thrown in front of a subway, but you don't actually see her get hit by the subway.
They cut away from the good shit.
And then
they push someone off a building, and a sign obscures where she hits the sidewalk.
Yeah, and then another guy, gets, or a girl rather, gets her head smashed off of a table, and that's it.
What a ripoff.
Yeah.
I just feel really ripped off by this movie.
Movie was not good.
I was mad.
I don't even really recommend seeing that one with your movie pass.
No,
maybe watch it one night if it's ever out on streaming and you feel like putting something on in the background while you play like Cards Against Humanity.
Sure. Just the thing is, like, I'm okay if a movie doesn't really scare me or whatever if it's a horror movie, but if you at least do what you set out to do. You set out to be a scary horror movie that convinces me that all you need to do is see a screen and all this other stuff to believe and be wrapped up in it and be scared by it. But they didn't do any. I was never really like scared. There were some pretty haunting moments, like when they found the videos of the girls in the barrels.
Oh yeah, that was creepy as fuck.
Yeah, so they started creeping you out, but they didn't. They stopped. It's just a whole movie just full of blue balls.
It's like in the beginning, because you don't know what the rest of the movie is gonna be. I was genuinely chilled for the first like solid like half hour.
Yeah.
Then I got bored.
Yep.
And then it brought me back a little bit, and then I was just disinterested for the rest of the movie.
Yeah.
Even like when they started getting in, because like once the killing starts, there is no break. Everybody's dead within like 30 minutes at the most.
One movie that does this way better, it's the same kind of thing where they drag it out for the whole movie and they just give you a little bit at the end, is Paranormal Activity, but they did it so much better.
Yeah.
I feel like that they...
I don't even like that movie, but I agree with you.
They take the pacing approach of Paranormal Activity, but that's because they're building up all this tension and they don't stop. Yeah. They don't stop. Yep. They build and build and build. Then when you get to the end, even though the kill is not really that satisfying, it's fucking terrifying. In this one, they take too many breaks. They build and build and build and then take a break. Build and build and build and then take a break. It's there when you have a horror movie, you do not let the engine stop.
Nope.
Do not watch Get Out.
Yep.
Just watch Get Out, learn everything you need to know about horror movies. Done.
Yep.
But this one's directed by Steven Susko, also written by Steven Susko,
starring Colin Woodall and Betty Gabriel, among other not really that important people. I will say, some of the characters. Really, like, I did feel for them. Like that Damon guy I really liked.
He was great.
He's like an English computer. Computer whiz. I want to see him in more stuff.
Colin Woodall, the guy who was the main character, phenomenal actor. Maybe his character was a little bit of a dumbass. Yeah. But he was a likable, pretty endearing character.
Yep.
So I mean, the thing is, they made us, moreover than most horror movies ever do, made you like and feel for these characters. Now, I appreciate it when a horror movie, and I think the stakes are a lot higher for me personally when I'm watching a horror movie, and the characters are very likable because I don't want them to die.
Yep.
So the tension's much higher.
Yep.
And then here, I waited for so long. I was like, at first, if you had started like fucking with them, maybe killed one or two, 30, 40 minutes in, then I would have been on board. But like when you wait an hour and 15 minutes to start doing anything, I'm like, just fucking kill him, man.
Yeah. At this point, I'm over this.
Yeah. Like you wait. They waited too long.
Yeah. And then the like dramatic reveal at the end, which is that like it was. Like there was no reason behind it. It wasn't like that. No one was targeted. He wasn't being punished because he made a stupid decision.
It was just fishing.
They were literally there was just hackers who were fishing and wanted to kill people for game
funsies.
Yep.
Yeah. So I don't know. Just another wasted opportunity with a horror premise. It was just sad.
Making me less and less hopeful for every recurring time that a cool premise is behind a horror movie, like that Hellfest coming out.
Dude, I think that looks amazing.
But it's probably gonna be butt cheese.
I hope not, though.
Me too.
Because it's such a great idea. I love, I think the horror genre is something that really hasn't been mined for all it's worth yet, although a lot of other genres have been. This one hasn't, because there's so many new things popping up, and that's a great idea. Every time I go to a haunted house or like a haunted area with any of my friends, because back in Pennsylvania, that's a big fucking thing.
Oh yeah.
Like, everyone and their mom has like a horror house, and you got to go to it and experience it. And it's fun, man. It's fun to get the shit.
I don't even really love horror movies, but that kind of thing, growing up around that and haunted horror nights at Dorney Park and shit like that, has made me really appreciate the genre a lot more than I ever did.
And I owe a lot to James A. Janice for getting me way more into horror movies than I was before I started watching your channel. Love you, man.
Dead meat.
But I will. The reason I brought that up is I was at it wasn't even a haunted. Like, it was a haunted house, but there's other things like around it. And there's these people that are just roaming around everywhere. So while you're standing in line, they'll get up in your face or like push you or something like that. And I was in the bathroom, going to the bathroom, and this dude fucking hiding in the stall, like, popped out. I was like, ah! And I ran out of there like a little bitch. And it's a fun experience. But the reason that Hellfest looks so cool to me is because when I was there with Aaron, and we were like, what if someone legit just started killing people here? You'd have no idea.
Yep.
Because some of these effects are that good.
Yep.
And no one sees that and goes, shit, was that real? In fact, I fucking shit you not. We were standing in line and someone had a stroke. Not from being scared, like he had a medical condition.
Mm-hmm.
And when he fell over, everybody was like, are you actually okay? And then he starts foaming at the mouth, and we're like, but is that a bit?
Yeah. It's fucked up.
I mean, he ended up being okay, but like, for everyone, like, froze, like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What, you know?
Yeah.
So, like, to think about that, but someone killing people, because, like, if we were standing I know for a fact, if we were standing in that line and someone whipped out a knife and rammed it into someone's neck, we'd all been like, woo! You know, that's so scary to me. That's why I'm so pumped for Hellfest. You know, I think that's a great idea. I hope that you don't fuck it up.
Yeah, agreed.
But that's everything.
That's Midnight Masterminds.
What a meaty episode.
Seriously, this was like almost a 2-hour long recording.
Sorry.
Nah, I'm not.
Me neither.
All right, bye.
That's it. No lube. We're pulling out.
Thank you for listening. We love doing this almost as much as we love you.
If you didn't know, for some reason, you should know by now, but we are on Spotify.
Mm-hmm.
And that's fucking awesome. So, yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Check out, and also Stories from Storage is on Spotify now, too. That's pretty dope. Which is my podcast.
I'm also
Wyatt's also on that one, but it's
why do we even have different podcasts? Let's just do an 8-hour podcast. That's all the podcasts. In one session. Save a lot of time. But
anyway, I mean, we could.
No, don't do that.
But,
Screenplay. We belong to Screenplay. Go on to Twitter, SVerticalP. Go to Facebook, also SVerticalP.
Go to Instagram. Guess what? SVerticalP.
I'm on Instagram.
Oh, and the most important one? Patreon, SVerticalP.
SVerticalP. I'm personally on Instagram at the Wymo. That's me. The Wymo.
I'm Tysto the Burr.
Yep, go there. Also go to Midnight Masterminds. They have their own Twitter. Basically, we just tweet out the episodes so that you know where to find them. So yeah, follow us there so that you know where to find us.
Yep.
It's also on Spotify.
Yep.
Oh, the Twitter is more and more useless every day. Maybe I should use it more.
Yeah, me too.
But anyway,
thanks for listening.
Bye-byes.
Yep.